Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all on behalf of Governance Now. I am Pragya, Special Correspondent Governance Now, wishing you a very happy Women's Day. The modern Indian woman is fighting for her rights and making her mark in almost every area, be it business, science, technology, politics, art, law enforcement, and in society as a whole as well. India has seen a rise and triumph of women leaders who have pushed the boundaries and helped to strengthen the workforce by creating inclusive environments. It is heartening to see that this growth is not just limited to women in metros, even rural areas and even semi urban areas are taking giant leap for womankind and encouraging their peers to follow their footsteps. So today we are organizing a webinar on for encouraging women leaders and entrepreneurs. So we have Ms. Nagma Mulla, President and COO, Edelgi Foundation. Welcome, Nagma. We have Ms. Neelam Makhijani, Country Director and CEO, Child Fund India. We have Ms. Mona Sheila Pereira, also known as India's NH Python, a journalist and media professional. And we also have Ms. Lata Singh, Director, IBM Partner Ecosystem India, and she will be joining us shortly. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you everyone. So my first question would be for Nagma. Despite India's capacity and ability to encourage women entrepreneurs and leaders, it is still ranked among underperforming nations in this space. I would wanted to call it worse, but underperforming is a better word I picked for the day. So what are the reasons behind this?
Yes, it is underperforming heavily. Its contribution to GDP is as abysmal as 18% in our country. There is a 43% of the women entrepreneurs are actually earning less than 10,000 profit per month. So it's not just bad, it is abysmal. I think the reasons go back and we must honestly look at the reasons. One is the lack of agency, the lack of assets in her own name, which also lead to a limited access to credible financial support that she can access. So lending to women is not a normal phenomenon, and she has to work double, 3 times harder to get the same access to finance as a man does. Procurement challenges, technology challenges, lack of technical know-how in a lot of places. All these are real challenges that a woman faces. But if I have to go back to really summarizing what is the source of all this is, it's the assumption that women are bad at business, bad at math, bad at managing finance. These are stereotypes that are unfortunately associated with women that have been stuck to us a long time ago. As bad as, saying women are bad drivers. Where the hell did that come from? Nobody knows. There is no evidence really. If you make a ratio of the number of women on the road versus the number of accidents, you will not find the same anything evidential to support this statement. So I think it starts from the stereotypes in our mind, the labeling that we've already done, the limited resources that she has, the limited education she has, and the system then, this is my favorite ending really, the system has been crafted by men for men because men were there in that universe. It has not been designed to include a diverse group, include women in the system. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. And now I am coming with the same question to Neelam. Ma'am, what would be your insights on that?
See, I'll echo everything that Nagma said. And I think in addition to that, I think it is about the will and courage. I think these are just very soft elements that I seriously believe in, that the will and courage that we should have as women. There was this massive conversations around equal rights for women, and I think people took it as we are looking for special rights. And it wasn't special. It was equal, which again I have questioned because I don't think that we need to fight for it because we are equal and better. So I think it's as the word agency came up with Nagma, I just think, being agentic, which is one of my favorite words, which really means that we have the traits that we can control our own goals and what we want to achieve in life, and knowing, of course, what we want to achieve in life. So I was reading somewhere, there was an advertisement that says that if for this job you need a person with agentic traits, then it can't be a woman. So, this is exactly where the myths and the stereotypes have been, and rightfully so that the rules were made by the men. But I think we've talked for long enough to say that women can change those rules. Uh, Economic power is a root cause that sometimes we don't stand up for ourselves. But again, why not? So, the question again always will go back. I like to take onus upon ourselves as women. And, Guru Nanak Dev said 500 years ago, why would a woman be considered inferior when she's the one who gives birth to kings? So if you look at all that, history has spoken for itself. And I think, therefore, I keep taking the onus upon ourselves that whether it is economic power or it is whatever you say in terms of what we need to have more of, I don't think there is anything that stops us except us. Thank you. I'll stop here.
May I? I think Swami Vivekananda spoke very well on equality when he says that all nations have attained greatness by paying proper respect to women. And that country and that nation which does not respect women have become great, will never become great, and nor will in the future. So here he clearly emphasizes the importance of a woman. And in our country, we are almost 50% of the population. And in urban areas, many women are well educated and are expected to quit after marriage their jobs. Their qualifications are often to enhance their profile in the marriage market. And very few women opt for careers. Most of them are quite happy being working women. They work for the money, but they are hesitant to go for a specific career. And here I find that mindset also plays a very important role. In a stereotyped society like ours, when women are definitely sidelined, they face a lot of gender discrimination. Maybe not very obviously, but definitely subtly. There is a strong bias, and it takes a lot of courage to break away from the softer career options and opt for something that is strong and makes for a good career. In fact, Brandon Garrick North, he makes a very important quote when he says, as soon as you are born, you are given a name, a religion, a nationality, and a race. And you spend the rest of your life defending a fictional identity. And I would like to add a behavior expected on the basis of your gender. So we are expected to behave in a certain way. We are expected to make certain choices. As soon as a child is born, we give them toys according to their gender. We choose colors according to their gender. A baby boy gets everything in blue. A baby girl gets everything in pink. In fact, a gym instructor was arguing the other day when they had two kinds of dumbbells, blue ones and the pink ones. And very subtly, it was being hinted that the pink ones are for the women because pink makes them happy. Now, right from the birth of the child, if we are going to typecast them, then obviously as they grow up with this mindset, they are going to carry this into their adult life. So we need to change the internal dialogue. We need to change our stereotypes and biases right from the time a child is born. And we need to remember that all great things begin in the inside. Very often I'm asked by people, are you working? And I say, yes. So they say, are you a secretary? I say, no. I purposely delay answering the question very directly. So they say, a school teacher? I said, no. So they said, then what? I said, try again. Oh my gosh, we're not going to mention everything. So I say, how would you address the same question to a man? You will not ask him, are you a secretary? Are you a school teacher? You will ask him, what are you working as? So why can't you ask a lady the same question? Why do you have to assume that a lady works as a secretary or a teacher? So we need to change our dialogues if we want to inculcate good habits in our children.
To see such diverse context here, but maybe the next thing that then needs to be deliberated is, out of all the problems, it's very easy to say and I find this as a dilemma myself, that it's very easy to lose track and say all problems are because of the gender. It's also very easy to lose track and say, no, we are so independent. Every time we say something, there's a woman card angle that is coming. So if we have to take a very objective view and say, all right, what are the issues that entrepreneurs who are women specifically face because of their gender? If we have to look at it from that angle, so that we maybe we could discuss that. And I think somebody has joined us here as well.
I think she's still trying to come, but
yeah,
good point.
Yeah.
Good point, Nagma. I mean, it's not just being entrepreneurs. I think, isn't it that we are seen as less authoritative? There are, and that is, I think, the trust and confidence that people have, or the gender has in us. And more often, I mean, I was reading an article where our Indra Nooyi, one of the most famous women leaders of Pepsi, and this is some time back, she actually said, women can't have it all. And I was quite surprised and taken aback from a woman who had reached such a high place, and as a role model, because I was, when I read it or heard it the first time, I wanted to define it. Why can't we have it all? But what is all? I think we also get lost in it. So it's not just being a successful entrepreneur for me. For me, all is, am I happy? Am I well? Is my well-being, dignity, and happiness important or not? So why can't we have it all? And if a woman challenges it, then you find it even harder to fight the stereotype that we are kind of pushing the buck to. So we can have it all. I seriously believe, whether it is now root causes of it could be the financial stability, or it could be a conducive environment at home. It could be many of those things. But yet, I still feel there is nothing that we can't ask for to have it all.
No, that's very interesting, Neelam, because I actually have a very different view on this.
Go on, then.
This is going to be a fun conversation. I actually, and there's something I read just this morning where Tapsi Pannu is speaking somewhere and saying that, and she was speaking in terms of the money she's earning, and she says the topmost heroine in a very high profile film doesn't get the money that the top 20th hero in the industry gets. And if she asks for that money, she's supposed to be very pushy and they'll simply replace her. And this is in an industry that is supposed to be more bold. It is supposed to be dependent in that sense. Sometimes one scene with the right girl there in the right placement will change the fortune of the film. In spite of this is the branding that comes. So I have a view that nobody has everything. Men don't have everything. Men don't have everything. So it's not about who has it all. Nobody has it all. If we really look at it from the angle of women, we have to also factor in that they are the prime caregivers in most homes, because nobody else really even comes to shoulder it. And even if they do, they are the temporary caregivers. They can walk out whenever they want, but she is primarily saddled with the burden of caregiving of the elders in the family as well as the children of the family. Also, that there is so much of ecosystem shaming that happens when a woman is trying to do something new. So much of, in the garb of humor, in the garb of, honest criticism, so much that is done to pull her down, that it's difficult for someone who's isolated and trying something which is anyway supposed to be risky, to really put all her self out there. And it's not like women haven't been able to do it. Of course they have, but that's why you see so many kind of fallout at that level. And lastly, I believe that the whole concept of entrepreneurship, and we're talking about women not just in metros, we're talking about these small entrepreneurs, whether they are also selling vada paos or something. We cannot ignore the fact that there is some serious violence that goes on in so many homes. Not all physical, maybe, but emotional violence is a real thing. Physical violence is a real thing. And they deal with all of this and more to be able to make it to that vada pav stall and make the day's business. And so that whole, I mean, we cannot take that away from the life that is incredibly hard and out there. So and all of that contributes to her access to ecosystems that will allow her to grow. This is my observation from some of the young. When we separate economic stability of a woman from her life issues, that's the first level at which we simplify the problem for her. Then suddenly she's equal to a man, but she can't be, because the baggage she's carrying can never be equal to the baggage that the male counterpart in the house is carrying. And that's how I see this.
Okay, so we can debate on that, but let's go to Sheila. Let's get Sheila on this one.
Mona. I remember talking to a lady policeman, a policewoman, and she said, madam, I am a policewoman and I may look very tough, but my husband says you're a policewoman only in the police station. At home, you're a housewife. तो तुम्हारा बकबक जो है ना वो ऑफिस में रख के घर पे आना. And on the opposite side, I've just done an article, and very interesting quote was that women can multitask, and that makes her very effective in running a home as well as running an entrepreneur. So she is considered by HR people as being very caring. She's very dedicated in her work. She doesn't try to cut corners. She is extremely friendly with the people. She tries to make people feel at home because she knows what it is to run a home. So she tries to unite the people. And the HR person said that she's extremely dedicated to the work. She is not just doing it for the money. She is totally involved with the job, just as she's totally involved with the family and running a home. Brings those characteristics into her workplace. So here you see how her role in the family is actually helping her in her role in the office.
Okay, I think we've got Pragya back.
Yes.
So Pragya, do you want to take it forward? We chatting actually in absence. So yeah, I think you can put us back on our track.
Sure, ma'am. And if anyone can help me where we were in terms of answering the first question.
No, we just went into the root causes of why we see women less acceptable in leadership. I think that's where we were. So Nagma had views and I had mine. Just one point, I take Bollywood as the last one to compare anything with. But truly, even in offices, salaries and all we have to fight for our space. Which is true. We do fight for our space. But obviously, I think as women, again, what Sheila just said, we bring a lot more to the table, I think. It's only a question of how do we, I think are less expressive as to how strong and how good we are. I think which in many ways we find it very hard to sell ourselves and market ourselves in the right way, whereas because we still have that kind of ethos, I believe, in terms of saying, let's be, reasonable in how I sell myself. So I think that's another point where we do get shortchanged for it. But certainly Bollywood isn't my benchmark for anything.
I think Bollywood, the hero is, all our movies are male-centric. And the heroine only plays the role of the love interest of the hero. So very few women-centric films, they do well, but not so much at the box office. You know, how many people have seen Joggers Park? It's a beautiful women-centric film where a guy falls in love with the girl. And the guy is much elder to the girl. She's an office person. In fact, he is unprofessional because he comes to the office to meet her and is ready to wait right up to the end of the day till she finishes her work. And at the end, and he's a married man. And at the end of the film, of course, they can't get married. So she moves on in life. She moves on in life and he goes back to his family. But they meet at the airport and he asks her, "Are you happy?" And she says, "Yes, meet my husband. This is my child." And, you can almost feel the people wanting her to be sad and depressed and, clinging on to the man. And she's quite happy about what she has experienced and where she is right now. We have this concept of a woman who wants to cry and cling to her past and not move on. So that sentimentality is expected of a woman because our movies are all like that. Our movies tell you that a woman's job is in the home. Our ads tell us that a woman's job is in the home. She has to cook, clean. All the food ads are about women. And she has to please the husband, the father, the mother, the in-laws, and the guests that come to the house. Everybody has to praise her. Like, Bahu aaj khana kisne banaya? And she's shown washing the dishes, washing the clothes. There's a slight change now in advertising where you have a few men coming up. Now, come on, if Maggi noodles takes only 2 minutes to make and it's so easy, why can't a guy do it? So when the kid comes and says, "Mummy, bhook lagi hai," why can't guy get up and say, "Okay, I'm going to make it for you"? So we tell women and we tell society that a woman's place is in the home. So it becomes very difficult for them to accept her in an office role.
Pragya, back to you. I think we'll give it back to Pragya to take it forward.
Right.
Okay.
So my question, now I'm coming to the specific questions. Nagma, as you work with a foundation that works with advancing women entrepreneurship across India. So does starting a business empower them or to break out the stereotypes? And also this COVID-19 pandemic has a very big effect on Indian economy and entrepreneurship and leadership. So do you think has COVID-19 encouraged or dissuaded women entrepreneurship in India? So
firstly, of course, there is no doubt that entrepreneurship, financial independence in itself does wonders to a woman's status within the home and also the way she looks at herself within her own life. It cannot be undermined. That's why it's highly recommended that whatever one's income is, one works, gets financially independent and is able to at least have some semblance of control in her life. So that is highly recommended. Entrepreneurship, to top it all, is traditionally associated with men. So it's brilliant if a woman can really craft a business, run it, and establish it solidly. There is no question on this that entrepreneurship of women does wonders to her status, helps her break stereotypes, helps people around her to break what they expect of her, and does wonders for her ecosystem and the generation forward. So yes, COVID has been very, very harsh. It has been harsh for everyone. MSMEs have suffered, small businesses have suffered, individuals have lost jobs. In all of this, what we have also seen is that as people are losing jobs, there is a real danger even in the job market for the rehiring to be largely of men, because the association of this running long hours, being able to work at all time, no maternity leave and all that is there. So there's a real danger of women not being brought back into workforce in the same speed at which they were dropped out. The women entrepreneurs, like I said, that around 43% of the women earning a profit of less than 10,000 a month means that they are highly vulnerable. Their businesses were shut. 1/3 out of 3 women are not expected to join back because it has broken their their ability to run a business. It has also put them at the bottom rung of the caregiving in a worse off situation than they were before the pandemic started. So as usual in the scheme of things, the sacrifice has come there. So COVID has been very harsh. We must, as an ecosystem, work to identify which can provide, we can put this in the middle and solve for it. What Edel Give is doing is really, there is a recent campaign that we've started called Udyam Stree. The whole focus is that can we have governments, employers, large employers and small employers, philanthropy and individuals really, one, identify that an earning and an entrepreneurial woman has to be nurtured. Secondly, build for that ecosystem. For example, source from businesses that are run by women. Very simple. Consider them, when we are looking at supply chains, hire them. So bringing this, sabse pehle, I think for us to begin to even try to solve a problem, it's important to put it in the center of our universe and say, this is the problem. So we've been doing it for at least 5-6 months now. We are very, very delighted by the responses that we are getting from the central government as well as from the from the other people that we are speaking. And we are looking forward to have the industry also rally around with us, and early signs are all very good. But Udyam Stree is something that we are hoping to use to bring all these people together, all these stakeholders together, and really put the woman in the middle and say, let's solve for this.
Thank you, Nagma. And it is such a great initiative that you are taking. This is really an important step towards making them financially independent and boosting their confidence. So my next question to Ms. Neelam Makdani. Ma'am, yeah. So, ma'am, if you can highlight the need to sensitize future agents of change, those are our young boys and girls at an early age, to inculcate the importance of entrepreneurship and leadership skills to eliminate the stereotypical mindsets specific to, like we have recently mentioned, Mona ma'am mentioned, gender assigned roles and responsibilities. That stand as the hardest hurdle in getting more women into initiate their business or getting into higher leadership roles. How can this be tackled at an early age here?
So thank you, Pragya. Good to have you back. So my organization, Child Fund, has been working, obviously, we have a very unique program, which we call it Theory of Change, in sense of working with pregnant women and all the way till the child is 24 years. So he's in a youth and a young person by the time we leave and they depart our programs. Because we have worked through various life stages, we see the more we have intervened and in our programs, the more the evidence is, the earlier you start, the better it is. And it inculcates as a part of your day-to-day habit. A lot of communities that we work with are first generation learners. So the parents still have the very old tradition. And even though the children have grown up, the parent, that generation is harder to change. Now, a lot of it has to do with us. अब कोई लड़का अगर रोता है घर में, छोटा बच्चा, तो उसको क्या कहते हैं, क्यों रो रहा है, लड़कियों की तरह क्यों रोता है? So we have started it like that. लड़की है क्या? अगर लड़का वो गेम नहीं खेलता जो लड़के खेलते हैं, तो उसको कहीं लड़की है क्या? रोएगा तो लड़की की तरह रोता है. So I think it is something that we have just completely put it in our DNA, that you got to discriminate between the two. You have to put each one in a box. And therefore, our programs are looking at it from the very beginning, as the woman is pregnant, as the woman is about to give birth, and then how does she treat the child? And why differentiate between them? So one is to start with that. घर में अगर पराठा बनता है, तो the boy's paratha has more butter on it than the girl's paratha. So why are we doing it? It's not something that you need to have a framework or a strategy. It is just up here and in our whole day-to-day business that we do in our homes, and women are doing it. You see, these comments that I'm making with, looking at how I see when I go into the communities, and the women are doing it. So how are we going to change the things? बड़ी बड़ी बातें कैसे करेंगे जब हम अपने को नहीं बदल पाते, जब हम अपने बच्चों को पाल रहे हैं, बड़ा कर रहे हैं. So I think we start with very, very young children, and I think therefore inculcating the habits of education kitna important hai, health kitna important hai, irrespective of the gender. And more so with adolescent girls. We have lots of programs with adolescent girls. We are doing lots and lots of programs with tribal women for entrepreneurship. Again, it is about dignity. It's 5,000 ho ya 10 ho. The idea is that she has a voice and that she has dignity at home and that she can influence the decisions that are made. But hamara, the focus has always gone back that the person or the child who has grown up within our programs and is now 20 years old or 18 years old does not behave the same way as the previous generation did. And I think the equality has to come from early. Whether आप education तो जो है सो है, जो तो schools में है, जो frameworks है, teachers हैं, सबको देखना है. But I think till we change how we grow up and how we actually do the operations at home as mothers and as women, and the space that we give to ourselves and our children will define how they grow up as. If my in my home I have seen, if my brother washes the dishes, the mother goes to help. But if my sister washes the dishes, the mother doesn't go and help. She thinks uska to ek kaam hai. You know what I mean? So I think women has become a woman's enemy at many times. तो अगर हम सारा ही नहीं बदलेंगे अपना रोजाना का जो है ऐसे हम घर में कैसे चलते हैं, तो आई थिंक it's mindsets, it's changing mindsets, it's stereotyping, putting and the myths that a woman should do this or should not, and who defines the should, which is why in my last moment when I was talking about women can't have it all. Why not? And a woman should challenge it. Why not? But what is all? First is to define yourself, which is why I keep using the word. I need to be an agency. I need to know what is it that I want, what makes me happy, what gives me the dignity to stand as a woman. And then everything else will fall in place. So हमारे जो सारे programs are child fund के, they start from very early on inculcating the ethos and values of that it's not a girl or a boy. I'm a human being and I deserve to be everywhere where I want to be.
Right, ma'am. Very well said that, things has to start at home. But ma'am, sometimes we have seen when girls, they take stand or they open their mouth against anything that is something like that happening, their own family members do not accept them. So what is the way out?
Again, I think it is about awareness. Times have changed. मेरे लिए तो easy था. I've been a rebel all my life and I come from a very moderate family. तो मेरे लिए थोड़ा सा आसान था. I do go into communities where we work. But Pragya, the world has changed. We run a program called Udan, which is about giving young girls scholarship from very, very rural parts. And we give them scholarship to go and do their ambitions and study and for higher studies. And I was sitting in a group of women in Rajasthan a couple of years back. And the women in the group, it was in a hall and lots of women were there and Rajasthani, khoob color and everything. But yahan tak ghungat tha. I couldn't see any of them. All I could hear was dangling of jewelry. But they're beautiful women. And I did ask them, I said, आपने अपनी बेटी को इतना दूर कैसे भेजा? शहर भेज दिया. I just wanted to understand how this woman who still has a gungat on made the decision to send her daughter, a 16-year-old, to Agra to study from Rajasthan. And the only answer she gave me, and it was the most beautiful statement she made, which has stayed with me, I want a better life for my daughter than mine. Now, if every mother, every woman thinks like that, I don't think we have to have these conversations also anymore.
Very interesting to know that it is the rural women who are thinking like that. Yes. Because I teach mass media and some of my students come to me and says, we would like to start our own business, but we would like to go and study further, but the parents don't allow them. They just want them to get married after they finish their graduation. And I find that the students are talented. And one of the replies the students got was, why do you need to earn the money when your father is earning the money? So it's not about earning the money, it's about expressing your interests and your talents. So from the rural area, this kind of reply is very interesting because here people are still facing these issues.
But they are the ones who are changing faster than some of the urban women.
Very interesting, in fact, very interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, one
So
of my
now we
I pray at home. Why can't I pray at the temple? And one of my students was being married off in the first year, 18 years. And she said, but I want to study, but they were not allowing her to study,
right.
which is very sad.
So now we have Ms. Lata Singh, Director, IBM Partner Ecosystem, India. So welcome, Lata. I'm really sorry you had a technical difficulty while joining this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Pragya. And by the way, I was listening into the conversation, so it was very interesting. And I really wanted to step in because I think I echo the voices that are here on the call. One is, if you really look at it, it has to change at the grassroots. And I think that's critical. And for those of you, I am actually sitting at the grassroots. I'm visiting my village and I can see a change happening here. So to add to what all of you said, it is happening at grassroots. Women are pushing for their daughters to get more educated. In fact, I just saw a group of schoolgirls to their school celebrating Women's Day. And I think what it needs is intervention at the education at the school level to having role models visible to those women, right? That is very critical. I have friends who are in the social service side and they've been in villages and they say there's a big impact when other girls in the village see them being and with a simple example of driving a scooter, right? When they're able to drive a scooter, why not me? And one actually took it from her brother and said, look, I can see these drive a scooter, so why can't I do it? And she learned it, and that gave her the power to do much more. So I totally echo the sentiment that it has to start at the school level, it has to start at the grassroots, and there need to be more intervention from our side. Us on the table who are here need to be visiting more to be able to showcase what can be done.
I was speaking to a social worker and she said, Mona, I went to a village and I told them these are your opportunities. These are the government policies that are helping you out to start various projects. So they were very interested that the government is having projects for them. So they asked her, what do we have to do? And she said, Mona, I came to the city and I made the same presentation to some of the people in the city. And the first question they asked me is, what will we get? So here is a difference in attitude. What do we get and what do we have to do?
I think it's also to do with where you are and what you want. Because if you really look at the grassroots level, they want to rise, right? And yes. I think the theme is, how do you rise? They see women doing well. They see the ability to voice their thoughts. And that is possible only when you're able to be financially independent as well. And there's a young girl I was talking to yesterday, and she's in class 8, by the way, our neighbor. And I said, what do you want to do? She said, I want to go to the city and do my BSc, right? At least she has a thought and the vision that what she wants to do. Now, obviously, we have to lend wings to her thought and vision, but it's amazing that there is the need to rise, and there are women who are willing to rise, and women who are supporting their daughters. By the way, it's happening. So I echo the thoughts of the women in Rajasthan because I see it here. I'm sitting in Uttarakhand. I see it here, very, very down to earth, and there are people willing to change.
Yeah, but then that also, if I may add to that, puts a lot of onus on us, because
absolutely
our role begins then. My favorite analogy is like, if somebody has no vision all their life, there is a set of challenges they have, but you give them light for 2 days and then you take it away, and the misery just goes manifold. So now that there is such high desire, there are women who are coming out of their shells wanting better lives. It also puts a lot of onus on us, who are the ecosystem people, who have to plug this in at our levels, so that this beautiful dream or ambition that they have for themselves and their children doesn't fizzle off with the same old, abhi 20 saal ho gaye, shaadi kar lo, and then the same old, too many good beginnings ending in tragedies. It's just wrong.
Totally agreed, Dagma. I think the consistency from our side has to be there. We feel what we talk during IWD has to be how do we really, what is the progress we've made year on year should be our personal, I would say, checkpoints that we do, right? Is how have we contributed in the 12 months to the next to the next Women's Day? And I think that's the important checkpoint that all of us need to carry. And like you said, the onus is on those, all of us here and all those listening in as well, is how much do we contribute personally? Because all of us get busy with our day-to-day work. All of us are in different professions. And I think how much can you take out of your time to give to others is very important.
Correct.
So there was an interesting point that came out while I was having an interaction with a few IPS officers. So they were highlighting women, they do become financial independent, but they still are not being able to take their financial decisions. They come, they earn money, they give it to their husbands, they give it to their families to take the decisions. The decision making is something which they are not being part of despite earning, money. So what do you think how this culture can be changed?
But Pragya, that's not true just at the grassroots levels. I've seen it in the urban, in the cities as well, right? Educated women who do not have the right on how they want to spend money. I think that's the piece of it. And therefore, the independence financially that they have is really no independence.
Absolutely.
And I think, right? And I've seen it in educated, well-to-do families where they have no right to spend, which is crazy. It is really, and I think that's the key part is how do you ensure that your bank balance is your bank balance, that you have the right to spend, right? Generally what happens even in cities is if you have a joint account, you then say, okay, who can sign it? Who can? I think there is a need to keep your financials aside. And that's the advice that I give to the many women is you can have a joint account, but there is equal importance to have your own financial in place for the future as well. And that gives you the voice as well.
I was very surprised when a very well-to-do lady, whose husband is a gold medalist, rings me up in the middle of the night and says, can you come to my house? I said, it's in the middle of night, what's happened? So she said husband was beating her and this and that. So the next day when I went to see her, she was completely black. This is the first time, the statement black and blue, you really saw it happening. So I said, how long has this been happening? Because I always see them walking hand in hand on the roads. So she said, ever since they got married. I said, you've not done anything about it? She says, no. So I found that this woman is very rich, has her own house, but she has given all the power to her husband. She has a bank balance. She doesn't know how to run it. She has gold, which is in the locker, but the keys with the husband. She has lawyers in the family. She has a neighbor who is a lawyer, who is ready to help her out. And she will dial my 10-digit mobile number, but she will not dial 103 and call the cops. Because log kya kahenge?
The social stigma.
No, but that is...
And yes. I said, she's saying you dial. I said, if I dial, my phone will be registered. I explained everything to her. I said, I'll come. You just dial. I will come. I'll bring the social worker. I'll bring the lawyer. I'll bring everybody. You just have to dial so that your number is registered with the police. But no. She will not dial that 103 number. And this I find with many people. They would run in the city. I have much experience in the villages. But they are ready to complain and grumble. But they will not take that action. Also, the system, at least in the cities, is so corrupt. You go to a police station, it's very difficult to register your complaint. You file a case, there is corruption. You're asked to pay bribes. And women don't want to take those steps. They have been trained to take soft options, not only in their careers, but even in their personal lives.
Yeah.
They would rather forget it and suffer it, feeling very happy that they are doing it for their sons and their daughters and their children and everything. Now her son has grown up, got married, and he says, Mommy, I'm not bringing my bride into this house. So what is the use of all our suffering? So women are trained to become martyrs. Even as a
their own
as a children's
from their own.
No, the stories of children's stories in the past, they are all about men rescuing women. And women expect that when they grow up. So when a man goes against them, they really don't know what to do. They can't take decisions. Till now, she has not taken any decision. She says, I want to leave him. I said, what will you do? Do you have money? She says, yes, I got a lot of money. But the checks are with him. The gold locker key is with him. He'll just walk away with everything. So you need to be in the know of what is happening. And we need to train our organizations to be a little more friendly with, more sympathetic towards
No,
women.
but that's exactly why, Sheila, in the beginning, when I was maintaining that if we are talking about financial independence and the absence of women from the space of entrepreneurship, we cannot simply look at it from, her ability to do 1, 2, and 3, but really put the whole social context, say, in their homes, what is happening? What have they been stereotyped into thinking in their own?
Exactly.
That's why the ecosystem has to work to move it. Capable women choosing subjugation is a real thing, but that also is not like one dimensional problem. It's got too many people doing too many things ever since she was small to big. So financial ability is an ecosystem problem to solve. Just by training and math and how to calculate compound and simple interest, we're not going to be able to solve this problem.
It's easier to solve the STEM issue. It is tougher to solve the social stigma issue, right?
Yeah.
And I think for entrepreneurship, even if you look at it and to take on, is where do you see women entrepreneurs, right? You're seeing a lot of them in technology. You're seeing now coming up in healthcare, right? Those are the two where you need a certain level of education. You have a lot of focus from the ecosystem. But where is the rest of the entrepreneurship from women coming in? I think we have to focus on that as well. Like I said again, is the key is intervention at the education level, intervention at early levels to tell them that what is possible for a man to do or a boy to do is possible for a woman to do. And again, teaching the boys as well. It's not just teaching the women, right, or teaching the girls. It's how are you bringing up your men? And we all talk about it, and there are enough ads about it. But how does it impact societies? How well are you bringing up your sons as well? I think that's an important part.
And most of the upbringing is done by women. So I think it is women who should start educating their sons and daughters about gender equality. Of course, man also should be included, but instead of women grumbling at home, they can take the first steps.
Absolutely. And I think it works at the workplace as well, right? If there are enough women in the workplace, they have a common voice. And that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen is how do you cheer each other on? There are men who will lean in, but how do you really cheer each other? How do you really build a network of women who is not only in your organization but outside as well? Because what you bring to the table is not just maybe 100 of you or 2,000 of you, and IBM is a very diversity conscious organization, but even in organizations which has lesser population of women, they need the voice, external voices as well. Because when you're in one organization, maybe with a diversity ratio of only 10% or 5%, you definitely need to hear the voice at the outside your own organization to be able to talk internally as well as to what you need. I think that's important as well, is how are you building your network of women to help you grow as well. I think that's a very critical aspect.
One of my friends was working for a foreign company, and they have the system where they can make an anonymous call to HR and discuss anything with the HR person, including sexual violence, which is, I think, a very good idea. And they are not questioned at all. So it really makes sense to help women at the workplace. Unfortunately, the whole Me Too movement was started with great, interest and noise, but nothing much is happening today.
Pragya, can we open it up a little bit? I think we've all said a lot.
Yes. Just
I've got about 5-7 minutes. Would you like to open it up?
I have a very interesting. Give me a minute. Here's a very interesting poem by Urna. Urna says, the demon is always within. The goddess is always within. The battle too is always within. And so is the triumph of one over the other. Which one over which one? The choice is also somehow always within. So we need to change our internal dialogues.
Okay. I think you got a hand up, Pragya.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, Natasha, I can see Natasha with a hand up. Pragya?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, just a sec. I just need to.
Maybe I'll go. And Natasha, would you like to ask the question? You got your hand up?
Natasha, you can write in a chat box also. I'm not able to speak or join.
No, she's sent a message to allow her to unmute it. I think she can't unmute herself.
Okay, maybe you can write down.
Permission.
There is an anonymous comment in the chat box. Why women shouldn't grumble?
I think women should, Neelam.
I think so.
I think
Why
we should grumble.
Yeah,
and we must. Why should the noise has to combat what is happening.
Correct.
The thing about do it in a certain way, certain kind. The pendulum, the oscillation is so skewed towards one side. To bring it to reasonable level, do the grumble. Why grumble? Shout and scream.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having your voice heard, if it's called grumble, then I'm all in for grumble. But if raising your voice, are women allowed to raise their voice? Definitely. And there's so many who don't, that it is important for us to raise our voice. And if raising our voice is called grumbling, I don't mind the grumbling.
Yeah. Okay, so whoever wrote that, we must grumble. If that's about raising our voice. Okay. Maybe Natasha, we see your hand up. Maybe you want to type out, but we are really close to closing time.
Can't hear you.
She's typed a message. She's typed a message on the chat. I can read it out if you like. I can see it. I don't know if you can see it.
Hi, so my name is not Natasha, my name is Ridhi, and I have plenty to contest in this particular conversation, but I understand that we're very, very low on time. So all I'm going to say is that, yes, I think it's pertinent for us to be able to grumble and shout. There is far too much of a backlog that we are not accounting for when we speak of the coming change. The onus of transformation cannot be necessarily only on the woman as a parent, as a teacher, as a stakeholder in this whole idea of the forthcoming change. I think it is also essential for us to realize that it is not only our internal dialogue or discussion that has to change. It is the larger ecosystem which we must push and nudge and kick into action. And if women like us at these positions embody these sort of opinions, it is extremely, not only is it disturbing, it is extremely confusing as to what we really want and what we are really expecting from our gender counterparts. You're welcome.
No, absolutely. And I think you've stated what we all said. It's not only for the women, it is also for the entire community to fix, right? It's not just the panelists here. And we all talked about men leaning in, the need to change the men. And therefore, do we need to nudge them? I think nudge is a very polite word. We need to shake them up. That's what we are intending to do. We continue to do. I don't think there's a difference in our opinion from what you said. It's not just the internal dialogue, it's the external dialogue that we need to do. And the key again, as I said, is how do we really do a checkpoint on how have we managed to do it from one Women's Day to the other is what we should be discussing more often.
I think in terms of internal dialogue, what we meant was we should practice what we preach. It's not that we are the only people who should do it. It's just that it should start from us. And of course, it has to spread to our male counterparts.
There's another question on women boss, and I if that's okay, I'd like to take that.
I have friends who have worked under women bosses and they just felt that they were well taken care of. They were so supportive of their staff. And in fact, my friend said that that's where the mother in the woman and family in the woman comes in.
Neelam, so Neelam, can we have your final comments since you have to leave early? So we can have your comments and if you can share your concluding remark about the conversation.
Thank you. I just echo everything that's been said already, but only to add that I think it takes all of us to if you want to make that change and make the change pervasive, it has to be everybody. But always it starts from within and from us. So I think if we lead in making that change, the ecosystem will fall in place with us. So thank you. I will log off here. It was lovely to see old friends and make some new ones. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam. Thank you for joining us today and we have wonderful insights and panelists. Thank you. So sorry for the interruption. Coming back to the question, working with a women boss or about too much expectation. So your insights on that for Sushma. So Lata, you were saying something?
Yeah, I can, because I have worked with women bosses myself, and I am also leading a team which has women. So I think I've always had a really good equation, and I don't really see a difference in, except for maybe the empathy part, but then it's not to say that men don't have empathy. Ultimately, the key thing is, how do you get the work done, right?
Right.
Are you getting the right guidance from your manager or a mentor? And that's what you expect. Is your manager able to deliver, whether it is a woman or a male or a female manager? Are they giving you the guidance to be able to deliver to what you need? Do you have a career path discussion with them? I think all of that is there. There's definitely an angle of a woman being more empathetic. I don't disagree with that. But then when the tough gets going, right, you have to really look at what are the deliverables. So I really don't see a difference between a key difference between a woman manager and a, a male manager. I think I've really enjoyed working with women managers. I was expecting, when I changed my role, I had a woman manager, and I think that the good part of a woman manager, and she did it. I didn't want to move into a sales role. What she told me is, why not? And I said, look, I'll be going on leave in 7 months. And she said, so what? That's planned leave. We can really think about what to do when you're on leave for 3 to 6 months, right? If it's a male colleague I hire onto the new role, I will not know, in case he falls sick or something happens, it'll be still unplanned thing. So I think you need the support of the women managers as well. But ultimately, you have to deliver to what your job role requires. And they can be good women managers, they can be bad women managers, just like they can be bad male managers and good male managers. I really don't think there is a question of being a woman manager is it different from having a male manager.
So gender doesn't play a role basically about being a good bad
Yeah,
manager
like I
or a
said, there is
person.
a bit of empathy that you bring in because you're a woman and you understand certain circumstances. You understand when one of your women colleagues or team members is getting married, the pressure she may have from the in-law side settling in. Maybe those are the more subtle nuances that you have as a woman. The fact that, yes, there will be social pressure for her during that time frame as she's settling into a new one. And then you can obviously take that into account. That I've seen definitely works. The empathy works from that perspective.
Right. So Nagba, would you like to comment on this? And also you're
on mute, Pragya.
Would you like to share your concluding remarks, since we are just winding up the session? We are past time.
No, my concluding remarks on this. So, it's very sad that in 2021 we are discovering and we are talking about issues that restrict women from being good entrepreneurs or restrict women participation. To address one or two comments, I do believe that women should not be quiet, not now, not anymore. I also, and in the, the risk of opposing some of the things, I don't think that she will have to speak first for the ecosystem to move. I think we have to be acknowledging the part we are playing in silencing voices. When women speak, we do not encourage them. Whether we are women or men, we punch holes in their theories. We talk about their timing. we talk about their words, anything and everything to reduce credibility. And this happens at the unit level, and this happens at the largest national level as well. So while women must speak because the fight is theirs, to say that she must speak first for the ecosystem to respond is not really the right way to go. The ecosystem has to provide for safe spaces. And when we as a unit, as women in power or men in power, when we see someone trying to voice their views or highlight an issue, instead of calling it the woman card or grumbling or anything of that sort, we have to allow for them to muddle their way through it. If it has used the wrong words, as long as you're making the right point. Too much is going into criticizing and articulating on the minor things. We're losing the big picture. The big picture is we cannot be in this century working in such a skewed environment that is so anti-women in the way we plan for things around it. So this is really my closing remarks. And I hope that through our work, we can play the role of ecosystem players that give that space to women, whether they are the vada pav sellers out there or whether they are women in their own offices and cabins next to ours, allowing for them to thrive without anything else is what we must do. And I hope we are able to do that.
Thank you so much, Nagma, for your remarks. And Mona, what would you like to conclude with?
As a media professional and as a children's author, I think we can start discussing these things with our family at our tables, at our tea tables, our dinner tables, our lunch tables. We can start discussing these things and take a cue maybe from a movie or a TV serial. For example, the movie Pink. I asked my students, what do you like about the movie? And they said, Amitabh Bachchan. Now, the main message of the movie Pink was that a woman can file an FIR in any police station. So maybe when there is a topic or a movie, a TV serial, we can take a cue from that and start discussing it with our families so that it becomes part of everybody's psyche. And then they can go and take it to their friends.
Absolutely. So Lata, so your final take on it?
So I will echo my fellow panelists in saying, do we need to raise our voice? Yes, it starts with us as ecosystem players to be able to create enough, and I will not say grumble again, we will raise our voice, we will create noise so that everyone understands, but it is equally our responsibility to have to become role models and get to the grassroots, because that's where the change will happen. And to end it on a positive note, from 2018-19 to now 2020, we did see a lot of women entrepreneurs entering. We saw them proactively, by the way, go out for VC funding. I know in 2017, the number of women entrepreneurs who sought VC funding was comparatively lesser than what we saw in 2020. Yes, a lot of it is skewed towards technology, but we do see an increase in the number of entrepreneurs. If you have to look at measurement, obviously the percentage will be low. So the positive is the more noise we create, the more we talk, the more we support each other, the more women there will be out there who will be leading successful businesses. So my support for all of them, and our commitment to get it done on the ground level as well.
Thank you so much. And it was a wonderful session, and we touched upon various aspects of not just leadership and entrepreneurship, but beyond that, upon making women more progressive and just making more empowered. Thank you so much. I extend my thanks to Nagma Mula, President and CEO, Edelgive Foundation, Ms. Neelam Makijani, Country Director and CEO, Child Fund India, Ms. Lata Singh, Director, IBM Partner Ecosystem India, and Ms. Mona Rose Sheila Pereira, journalist and media professional. Thank you everyone for joining us and sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.